We live in a world where we're drowning in screens and endless alerts. Marketing feels noisier than it's ever been. But there's one strategy that's been timeless that keeps proving itself over and over again. That's a human connection. We're going to be touching on how that's going to build longer lasting relationships, and I like to call it the offline experience. Every day we get hit with hundreds of messages, emails, ads, texts, posts. We live in a constant digital overload, but so do our customers. And I think that's really important to remember. The convenience for us is really easy to get done, but the attention that we end up getting out there tends to be fairly low. The real challenge isn't having the technology or things that we're going to try to reach out to our customers, but how do we end up breaking through in any sort of a meaningful way? How are we going to be different? With so much screen time, people are starting to really reach out and look for authentic relationships, genuine interactions, and several people have touched on this. Businesses that are embracing this now are starting to find that they're really benefiting from it. They have meetings, events, they can have roundtables. They're building deeper trust and relationships with their customers while their competitors are stuck just behind those digital walls. So it's important, become a welcoming organization. A friend of mine that I talked to about this last week is marketing. He said, forget about rational selling. Don't do it. Sensory and emotional experiences are going to end up building deeper relationships, and they're going to end up being a lot more meaningful to the customers. They're going to shape brand loyalty a lot better, and that's going to be better than the facts alone, than any of the handouts you have. You want to make people feel something, and they will remember that. It's not just what you say or sell. Think about what you want them to feel when you're talking to them in whatever manner in person is best. I sort of have done this, I've sort of put this in as emotional branding. Emotional branding tends to tap into trust, belonging, and pride, which are really important not only in the work world, but also from a customer perspective when you look at the relationships. These customers tend to, when they feel these emotions, they create bonds that are going to be a lot longer lasting. And it's not a transaction for them, it's a relationship. These people tend to become your brand advocates. They become part of your company in a sense, and they'll defend you against other competitors. Customers need to be turned into advocates. I think that's important to remember. In B2B, the deals are still complex and very risky. When you go work on these, the deciding factor isn't always price. It's almost always trust. Personal high-touch interactions with people are going to end up cementing that. It's a lot easier to close a deal that has high dollar volume, is a big transition for a company when you've taken the time to be able to look at somebody eye to eye and be able to actually go in there. And several of the speakers have spoken on that today. All the success comes from the empathy that you're going to build, the understanding, and the overall problem solving that you've done together. Offline doesn't always necessarily mean that you have to ditch digital. There's this world that's called phygital. It's a confluence of both. You probably have seen it when you go into a store and you end up seeing this great kiosk, or maybe they've got some screens up there. These places, the stores in particular, have taken a great step forward in combining not only the physical environment, the interaction with the people, but also providing a digital supplement to that. That blending is really important, and it works not only for retail, but it works for businesses too. One of the things that I think is super important is surprise people. Pop-ups and short activations with customers, show up where you're not expected, gives you an opportunity to meet your customers outside of the normal places. Just the fact that you're there is going to end up getting their attention. You get the opportunity to work with them, talk to them. If you're selling services or food, they can look at the services, they can taste the food. They get a real feel for who you are. They tend to be pretty fun, memorable, and they tend to be really, really popular right now. You're seeing a lot of that pop up. Step back. One of the things that is really great, I don't know if you guys remember the Share a Coke campaign. This was Coke's idea of going ahead and saying, look, you know what? We don't need to be in the mix. They got their customers to start interacting. So look for ways that your customers can interact. It might be something as simple as a community board. It might end up being some things that you start putting together, but let the customers run with that. Modern customers mix online with offline. They research digitally, but they buy locally. One of the things that's great about this, it gives you a lot of the convenience for them to be able to look at you and be able to start picking things out. But when they come in and they buy locally, when they actually show up, that is an absolute moment where you want to make sure that that offline experience is outstanding. The example that I put in here is about a bakery. There's a bakery in Helotes called Spread the Loaves. You have to go online because they're so popular. You cannot, if you don't reserve your bread, your sourdough, your whatever it is, you're not going to get it. You get there and there's a line, they're handing things out in line. So you end up getting sourdough. The next time you're going to end up getting muffins. So really take a look at how you're going to do that. Every business has got an opportunity to build on that. Personalize it. Consultative sales in particular. The deep interactions that you have, active listening, the empathy that you're going to have with these individuals, tailoring the solutions and the problem solving are absolutely critical. Digital tools can support the process. We all have them, but they're not going to end up building trust. Nothing replaces trust through other than genuine conversation and being able to connect with people. Events, conferences, roundtables, they deepen relationships. Some of us like them, some of us don't. But the reality is there's going to be some shared moments that are going to be shared by everybody there that go beyond just the transactional conversations we're going to have. I mean, this is actually a little bit of a conference. You probably met some people here. These tend to be where people are more open. They're going to be a little bit different. And it can turn contacts into customers. So take a look at it and be very strategic about what you do. The employee experience is tied directly to the customer experience. It begins with a great employee experience. You've got to be able to get those people lined up. They have autonomy. They have the ability to build trust. They have training to make the right decisions to get the outcomes. These are the people that end up taking your values and turn them into actions that turn those customers into clients. Equip them for the outcomes. Soft skills really matter. In a world where we're talking about human connection, you really have to focus in on the soft skills. That's going to be anything from active listening, empathy. I mean, both gens. I mean, everybody talked about the ability to sit and look and listen. It's not natural to everybody. So you really have to take that time to be able to train people, do role playing. Just remember this one thing is, how do you want everybody to remember the interaction with your employees and focus on it? That means that you've got to do some personalized training. You've got to understand the staff that works for you, what their strengths are, what the challenges are, and get some customized coaching. It may end up being sales coaching. It might end up being communications coaching. But you want to be able to make sure that they understand and you understand what their unique values they bring to the table are, that they'll be able to perform better once they get some of the training and handle customers with more care. If you make it personal and you make it relevant, it makes it effective. Phygital nexus. I don't recall who talked about this. It may have been Cece. High-touch engagement tends to be a little bit more expensive than just sending things out. So you've got to make every moment count. It's important that you take integrate the digital data that you get plus all the physical data. Like, we're having conversations here. So one of the things that's really important is when you have that conversation and you want to connect with somebody, how are you going to record it? You've got to be able to build that within the system, whether it's a CRM, something else. Once you start turning that experience into data, it's going to be very useful and manageable for you. Every physical encounter generates a lot of insights. Capture them, record what the customers felt or asked. But more importantly, after you do that, take it and sit down with the group. And we're talking about another offline experience. Look at the data, talk about what works, what doesn't work. Turn that into something that you may do it differently if you did a pop-up, if you did a conference, whatever it is. Start taking that experience and treat it like the asset it is. Those experiences are much richer than some of the data that we get. If you invest and do the work, it'll pay off. Next one is a little bit of a shift. We're all familiar with ROI. Traditional ROI is tracks only transactions. I want to plant the idea a little bit of, sort of return on experience, building a framework of values and emotional connection, loyalty, and advocacy. When you measure things like trust, belonging, and along with revenue, all of a sudden you can see the real payoff. It's hard to do for some companies, but you know what? You just need to start. I think Cece said, CRM, start with a spreadsheet, whatever it is. It can be notes. Start out and then find the right balance. Customer, life value, and retention. A lot of the companies that have been doing this show very well from a profit perspective. They're sustainable. Metrics like retention, lifetime value, net promoter scores, those are the payoffs that you end up getting out of these connections. When your relationships start speaking for you, the connection is actually going to become your greatest advertising asset. And it's really important to focus in on being able to take that long past those initial experiences. To finally sort of close this out, don't forget earned media. If you get people to connect with you, they're going to end up promoting you. They'll put you on social media. They may be at a conference. They may be talking to somebody else, and they're going to talk about you. They're going to talk positively. So when we look at this, I look at it from a standpoint, the connection outperforms algorithms every time. The advantage for 2026 and moving forward is human. Thank you.